Peace, and welcome to ManiSisters TV. My name is Adrienne, and I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about reflectors and how to hack your design if you're a reflector. If you're a reflector, stay tuned because we're going to cover some practical ways for you to improve your experience as a reflector. So let's get started. First off, if you've heard that you're a reflector, you know that you have all of these open centers and everyone's saying, oh, you're like a mirror. You are a moon child. It's all these kind of euphemistic ways to describe that you're open and there's so much coming in and all of this stuff. So all of those details are really important and you can learn about that elsewhere. But right now we're going to talk about some practical ways for you to approach and understand your strategy. First off, environment is key. Environment is everything. Location, location, location. So the place you're at and the people you're around are really going to impact your experience a lot. And the thing that I've noticed with reflectors is that if you're in a place that you don't like and you continue to be there, you may even become ill or you'll shut down. So the whole idea behind being a reflector is that you guys can actually use life as an adventure and move around. It's fine. Move into places where you can actually experience wonder and joy as opposed to places that are depressing or that make you feel sad and terrible, because those places aren't going to be good for you. One other thing about reflectors is because you're unlike any of the other designs, every reflector has no authority. And so no authority is just basically you don't have one set way of making decisions. So here's a way to hack how you make decisions. You need to talk your potential decision over with multiple people. And it's not that you're looking for advice or for them to tell you anything like what to do. What you're doing is it's almost like magic. When you speak about maybe a decision that you're going to make, you're actually passing it through their auric field to find out the truth in it. And the whole idea is it takes 29 days, a full moon cycle from the time you've maybe come across a concept or idea of something you might want to do. So say you're considering going to school. You might want to you're going to go to law school, right? So you're thinking, I might want to go to law school. You need at least 29 days to make that decision. And you don't want that 29 days to be in isolation. You want it to be 29 days of discussing it with people you trust, not necessarily taking their advice, but just hearing yourself say the concept over and over again so that your body can actually know the truth of it. So you may have heard things like reflectors are sensitive and, they're taking in everything in the environment, which all of that's true. But I want to let you know, if you're a reflector, you're actually tough. You actually have an aura kind of like a tank. That's not the way that anyone typically describes it, because everyone's like, oh, they're so sensitive and they're this. But no, you guys are really resilient because you are meant to be amongst the people. It means that you have an internal protection mechanism. At any time that you are in discomfort, you can kind of, it's like a two-way mirror. You can turn the lights on the inside and there you are, because you do exist in there. And so you aren't some sensitive thing some sensitive being that is only just taking in everything and subject to all of the woes of the world. You are probably one of the toughest of the designs. Along with manifestors, you have an aura that's really, really, really tight, right? So you have to, okay. All right. So one other thing is you have to be amongst the people. So being amongst the people allows you to do what reflectors are really here to do, which is actually identify energy and know the energy of others. But it's really important that while you're identifying the energy of others, and really it's in a way, it's like assessing the health of the energy of others, you are not taking that energy on, right? You have to recognize that it's not you, that you're not identifying with this energy that you're sampling. One good way to do that, right? One way for you to discharge that is, sleeping alone is really a good idea for reflectors. But also just getting out in nature. So having some space that can be just for you, so you can be alone and discharge the energy that you pick up, really important. But in all of that, it's really super important that you are not identifying with the energy that you encounter out in the world. It is not you. Everything is not you, and you have an identity. So one of the things that is really important for reflectors is to, especially at the beginning of the experiment, but I would say honestly, all the way through, if you can start to even just observe and follow the transit of the sun through the gates of the wheel. And it's really interesting. So the 22nd of January is when the New Year starts. It's really funny. Just a few days shy of the Chinese Lunar New Year is when the year starts. And as a reflector, if you want to know more about the transits, there's quite a few ways to do it, and I'll post those links below. You can. There's a couple of blogs that talk about the transit. So every week they give out a report of what the energy is going to be like. There's also an ephemeris. And if you're not familiar with that term, an ephemeris is basically a table that lists out, the days and then the position of the sun, what gates it's going to be in. And this is a beginning for you to potentially go and start understanding what energy is going to be shining through your design. Because the thing about being a reflector is you are going to show the traits of the different designs depending on what part of the month it is, based on how the transits are activating you. So imagine that you're a manifestor 3 days, and then for the next 4 days a generator, and then for the next 5 days a manifesting generator, and then for the next 2 days a projector, and it kind of can flow like that. So it's really important that you're following those transits, or at least paying attention to how you feel. I would definitely recommend the transits especially. So even though, we talk about, you guys are reflectors, you're like a mirror, it almost implies that you don't have an identity. And what I will say is that kind of feeling may make you feel invisible. And what I want to let you know, reflectors, you have an identity. You do. You absolutely have an identity. Your identity, though, is like a jewel. It's something where you're reflecting the light that comes your way, but you are the jewel. So your identity is that, is always there. And instead of being like all of the other designs that have a fixed way of being, your way of being is much more of a dance. It's much more of a rhythm as opposed to something that's static. And that's why I like the jewel, a jewel with many facets. It's turning and sparkling and glimmering, and you guys are really super special and rare, but you do have an identity. And even though you get to sample and experience all of the people around you and the energies that come through the transits, in the core, there is you. And like I tell all of the other types, you are not here to be controlled by anyone, especially since, if you're not in a good environment for you, it's so imperative that you feel the autonomy to move, to pick up and go to the place where you can at least, feel the wonder and surprise that is a part of, basically the payoff of your strategy is that you having a life that's, wondrous and surprising, as opposed to one great disappointment in humanity. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and give a comment. If you're a reflector, give some information about your experience. What are some things that you have learned to do? Maybe you'll talk about self-care or some other things that you do to make sure that your reflector experience is amazing. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Peace.